Okay, welcome. Thanks for being here. And does everyone approve of our agenda today? All three of us? Yes, okay.
Yes.
We have approved the minutes. Oh, now the minutes. Did you guys get the minutes? Hi, Tom. Everyone get the minutes, and do they approve of the minutes as submitted for the last meeting? I have to admit, I can't remember. Oh, trying to get to the link. Lynn is trying to get to the link. So do we have any objections to the meetings as they were provided to you?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Minutes have been approved. Does anyone here have a conflict of interest to declare for today's agenda items?
No conflict?
Nope.
No conflict.
Okay. All right, we have no conflict of interest declarations. So unless Jeff comes back, we don't have a report from the executive committee because I was between two places and I did not remember.
Jeff is here.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything important to report from, because just the three of us who participated in some way in the meetings, just kind of recounted recounted that it went well and whatnot, and just sort of like expressed optimism that like as time goes on, we're going to kind of get into a groove with how to run these meetings and what we want to get out of them, and
Okay.
so keep going.
All right, thank you. And I apologize for missing that. My brain left between IKEA and a Seder that I was going to at my niece's house, so I was too befuddled to function.
Passover
Lynn?
did do that.
Hi, Lynn. You're muted. We want you to discuss your timeline. It's the last thing, that's the first thing on the agenda after all these formalities. Are you there?
Trying. I'm sorry you
Very
can't
good.
see me. I don't, it's my only meeting up there. Maybe that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm gonna grab my file. And maybe I can do it without my file. Monday has been a crazy. Let me go to the next agenda item and then let me get my file in front of me because I want to have the specific dates.
Okay, okay. So the next item is debriefing on the first two meetings. And I have some ideas on that, but why don't I let anyone else or everyone else who wants to talk about those first two meetings weigh in on those first two meetings.
Well, it seemed to go well. I think we stayed pretty much as much on task as you could expect. For brainstorming, you're meant not to be too restrictive in the range of questions. And we only had to rein in a couple of times. So I thought
Right.
it worked out pretty well.
Okay.
There's a lot more people than I expected.
Right, which is a good thing. And there was a variation between the first meeting and the second meeting as to how many repeats and how many new people. So I think we ended up with between 30 and 40 people between the two meetings, and over 40 if you just take how many people were one and at the other, even though there was some duplication in the two, which is good that people came to both meetings. Any other feedback?
I thought it was great how we just had people throw out ideas. I think the next ones might need more structure. And one thought that I had was to go over each of the values individually as we did in the past and potentially show them an example of what a revision could be. Let them talk about that, maybe only do that at the next meeting, and maybe move on to start people thinking about what more specific goals they'd have that have to do with those visions, so that
Mhm.
potentially in the next two meetings, we could have the values refined and the start at what potential goals would be that would have to do with that, just to get them. Because then if they start with goals that we don't have a vision for or a value for, then we could say, oh, that's a great goal, but we don't have a value for that yet. What value could we have that would make that work? And then we'd have two more meetings to refine it before the big community meeting.
Right. Okay.
So to Lori's point, and I have my notes, the calendar in front of me electronic, so I'm prepared to go back. And just for the record, I am taking minutes or notes of the meeting so that you all don't have to
Thank
worry
you.
about that.
Thank you.
Underway. There's a couple of things. So I thought the first meeting was really well attended. I was shocked. I was pleased. I was excited. I thought that having Sarah there was a wonderful thing, and for the second meeting as well. I also thought it was very interesting in both meetings, kind of how people come at this process and what they're most concerned about, what they're thinking about. I don't know if we have a head count of how many were in. I don't, because I wasn't there. I couldn't see from my camera at the second meeting how many duplicate attendees there were.
Well, we have the
Surprisingly,
attendance. Pardon me. Go ahead, Laurie.
I was just to say it was more new people and fewer repeat people than I expected.
So how many people total do you think we have heard from in the community?
Well, I do have the sheets, but I don't have them in front of me. I would say that we've definitely heard from close to 40, maybe
Right.
between 35 and 40 so
Right.
far.
Okay, so that's what I thought, because I think, first of all, that's far better than I would have expected. And I think we need to, but it's also 10% or less of the population of Nescoin. And so I think the thing we have to do is we have to take those remarks, and before we change values or adopt values, I think we need to summarize what we heard in some quantitative or at least, capturing data sort of way, which is we had 40 people there. We had these key issues. But to jump to editing the values based on what we've done right now, I think is premature. And I think we need to have a discussion about that today. I know we're not discussing it right now, so we can talk about it later, but I just want to put that on the table. But I do think it was off to a very good, very, very solid start. And I got the impression that Sarah thought we were getting the job done too. So I hope that's your impression as well, but because that's an important piece of this, that she thinks we're, on task and productive. And I absolutely people felt like they could say anything they wanted to say, because they did. And good for them.
Right.
I love that.
Again and again.
Again and again.
So there were a few things that I think we could improve. So one is that we'll cover the window on the west end for any of the meetings that are in, well, I guess all the meetings will begin with light in the sky. So we need to darken that west end and then put the camera on the bar and put the seats around in a semicircle so that they go from the door area all the way back to the TV. That way the camera will see about all the people on the same focal length, and all people can be seen with no backlit interference that makes it, you just see a silhouette. And we'll position Tom so that when he's standing and speaking, it's not only his stomach that we see. So
That's a good
we'll
idea.
solve
Good
that
idea.
problem, although it's a lovely midsection.
Uh,
And let's see. Yeah, it's interesting about I think Lori's point is well taken, that we're gonna go through each statement, say what we heard from people. And here's what we got out of it that we've put into the value statement so far. I think that we'll go ahead and start reconstructing them based on what we hear, but let them know it's not over, if they have some other ideas about it. But I think the statements are only a sentence, that can't go on and on and on without ever resolving that this simple sentence is acceptable at this point. Certainly with the ones that exist now already, and we're not getting a lot of pushback on the what the statement says. It's more the words and whether that's a definable entity. Like, so anyway, I sent out the revisions that Lori and I got to from the comments that were put down. And I sent those to you about 40 minutes ago or something.
Yeah, I
So
saw those.
Yeah, so you can look at those. They're not obviously totally resolved, but I mean, we're starting to get some of that language in there. I hope less vague and maybe a little more on point, but I'm sure we'll continue to get some criticism.
I
let's-
think, Rand, to that point and to your point, one of the things, and I just had like 10 minutes to look at them before the meeting, which is
Sure.
why I was late. But so, for example, to want a facility where you can, that is not in the tsunami zone for people to go, is, I'm not sure that's a value. That's
No.
perhaps a goal or objective. To hold 100 people is way past values, and so, as long as we label everything draft, and so that people attending future meetings know that they get to come in and say, you know what, I don't think that is the value. I don't share that value. I don't want whatever. There should be a process where people feel that we are collectively as a community creating a draft, and that
Right.
they're not giving us ideas by showing up at a meeting and those become the final deal.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And Lori's pointed out, I'm packing these things with things because I want us to keep those goals in mind.
Right.
Since that's why we're making values so that we can apply them to goals. I might be bundling them together now, but it's because I want us to be thinking of both things, both ends of that equation. And so they're clunky. I'm sure Tom can clean them up so that they're, six words or less and get to the point. But I wanted to have something to work with here, something between the fingers, so we're at
Can I
least
offer a
getting
suggestion?
feel. Absolutely not. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
So I think trying to corral your groups of people into like talking about values and goals separately is probably maybe a lost cause and probably not a good use of effort. So maybe what you can do is listen to what they say, and like probably 70% of what they say is really going to be like, I want this tangible thing in the community. And then reverse engineer the value from that. And then at the next meeting, you can present some value text and get feedback on it and then iterate that way.
Uh-huh.
What he said.
Okay, well, hopefully,
I just still think that the most funny thing in the meeting was all the people who kept saying to the county, I don't know who it was, I couldn't see the people, I could hear their voices saying, wait a minute, why can we be thinking about anything when you're broke? And you keep telling us you can't fix the roads, you can't do anything. And Sarah handled it really well, but I did say, I did come away from that, people are really smart. And that's going to be an ongoing issue with any asks for us. So we'll see what they say, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be in the plan. But Haven't heard the county say yes to anything in a very, very long time. Fundamental things, even tsunami
Oh.
requirements. So
Probably the answer to that is that they can also use the community plan to support grant asks.
yes, but they can't operate anything on a grant. So, I mean, that's our conundrum. So anyway, I'll let it go, but quite a discussion.
Well, I talked to Chris Laity today about, some stuff that's happening on Slab Creek Road, and he said he was gonna pave another half mile up Slab Creek Road, probably from the school up another half mile, so they're through time, we've been out here a long time, and the road's good all the way to the school now, so can't complain
Progress.
too much over time. It's just everyone wants it now, but
Yeah.
Okay, so if that
So
that
this,
doesn't, I was gonna follow the debrief with a plan for the second and the fourth meetings. We've touched on that. Do we want to get through that and then go back to Lynn's timeline? Or,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
tell me things, share your visions of the next two meetings. Laura, you already mentioned.
I did, but I wanted to add just the question. If we think we're gonna get into the type of a thing that the bylaws committee did, where we will at one point actually have Tom put the vision up on the board and have people start talking about individual words? Or are we going to think more globally about what we're just hearing from people and kind of do the word by word things ourselves as a committee, whether Tom puts it up on the board for us or not, and then go back to the bigger community with the draft, making sure that we say it's a draft. Like how, I'm just wondering with Lynn's comments, like how granular do we want to be about the actual word by word of the vision statements? And if we're gonna go word by word, are we doing it in the bylaws model, or do we have a different model we want to work with?
I would ask Tom that because he's been an engineer of that process
Yeah.
with Nancy.
Well, my inclination is to make it a little bit more verbose than it was before. I think that there was a lot of things that were gathered together in each one of the bullet points that aren't necessarily compatible. And I would think that maybe we'll have 5 or 6 statements like we did before at the top, but we should have some discussion of each one of them. That's what would appeal to me. You have the bullet points, and then you have the backup, which explains what those mean. And some of the text, we could take from direct input. Others, as said before, we can impute from what's there back. As Jeff said, reverse engineer values.
But
That'd be the approach, I think.
at the meeting itself, do you imagine yourself just standing up in front of the group like you did before in this meeting? Or on the first two meetings, and just doing all of that verbally with some scribe just writing down basic words? Or are you talking about doing something on a screen like with the bylaws committee where people are actually looking at specific words while they're giving?
Yes, I would prefer a visual. It's too easy to lose concentration on the part of the audience unless they have something to relate back to. I don't know how we're going to exactly do this with the equipment there. I assume that we can probably, we have the screen that would be able to do the presentation, but.
So then would we need someone besides you doing the screen? Would you do the screen, or would you do the talking, or would you do both?
Probably do both.
And Lori, you did a great job And you could see it really well on Zoom. I mean, even if we did it with a flip chart, it's doable.
Mhm.
If we had it, because I could see everything you were writing, and I'm sure people in the room could too. It was very clear.
But it was basically like words. It wasn't sentences. I could not write fast enough to do sentences.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Well,
enough.
You always see
Well,
more
how about,
than would be on a slide. I mean, the slide is just kind of the thing. So I think that still works.
it may be that the slide is up on the big screen so everyone can see it, but well, if they can see it, then we can work on it in live time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there's a huge difference between what the bylaws committee is doing and what we're doing, in the sense
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
there's a reason why it's called bylaws. And when you're writing bylaws, you have to be, every word and the meaning of every word really counts. We're writing vision statements, and we have to really think more in terms of, if not 50,000, maybe 30,000 or whatever feet. I go with what Lori suggested about her ladders. That's what we do. We cannot, I don't see us having a committee of 40 or whatever it is to be wordsmithing what we're writing. I think we take the comments we heard, we bring them up to the level which we think suit a mission or value statement. We write that, and when we eventually give the whole piece to the community, it's not for word editing, it's for general agreement. So
I'm going to insert myself once more and offer a contrary point of view, which is, I think there is a great, like if you're trying to kind of tease out how people feel about different value statement, there is a great value in putting some words on the screen so that they can respond to them. And then there is also a great value in editing those words in live time, not because you're going to get the exact thing that you're going to put in the community plan in November, but because just the process will get people thinking, like, does this word express what you mean? And if people say no, then that you get insight from that. So
but I think we're doing that, Jeff. I think that's what we've been doing.
but I'm saying that if Tom has a PowerPoint slide up and he's editing it in live time, that actually is a valuable exercise. I think you will get insight from that, even if the point is not to get the exact words that you're going to put in the plan 5 months from now. So.
I would get, if there are words up there, which I don't know, safety or pedestrian or whatever, that you get general reactions to that. I don't want Tom up there trying to edit a statement, put together a statement that everybody's going to participate in, and he could write kind of general reactions to certain words or phrases, and then it's our job, I think, to put it together in a statement. I just don't see us trying to edit these vision statements, and we're having multiple meetings. Every time we have a meeting, there'll be a different group of editors.
Yeah, well, I think we're not that far apart. I am not proposing this as a means to get the words. I'm just proposing it as an exercise that actually gets people talking. Because if you say, do you sign on to these words? And they say no, then you say, what would you change?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. As long as we can avoid potholes. I'm fine.
You mean literal potholes?
I mean both.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna shut up again.
No, that's great, Jeff. Your comments are welcome.
Yeah. And so I think we have enough of a plan where if we have we made a start with our piece of paper, and Guy, you can look at those and say, yeah, those are spot on. I think we're close, or, you're dreaming. This is nowhere near where we need to get it. But I mean, we have to get something going here where we're looking at something and going, how do people feel about it, and then get some feedback moving to the next one. We can't get hung up on one for a whole meeting. So I think the plan, if we can choose the statements we feel are strong enough to post up there and then get input at the May 2nd meeting. And we're reviewing still the original ones that exist right now. And then there are new ones that are there, and I'd like to get some responses to whether any of those you can strike out if you say that's purely a goal. There's no value statement there, but let's find some new places where we want new statements of value that would drive some things we want to achieve that are beyond what we have already. So if we can do some combo, that would be great.
Right, and one good example, and obviously an example I'm interested in, is that discussion we had. Remember when Earl talked about, adequate utilities, adequate water and sewer is fine, kind of thing. And he actually even came back on it again. And I tried to make the argument for, no, we don't want just adequate, we want resilient, especially when it comes to the water. And so that discussion, or, is kind of, I guess, what Jeff is referring to, what's your reaction to certain words? What is it that reflects more of what we want for the future of NESCO? Sorry, NVS here, but so yeah, no, that's, if we can get that kind of thing, where it's a more of a quality difference between the words we use, not necessarily the wording of any particular statement. That's great.
Well, one way to do that would be to not actually start editing that value statement, but if there's a word that people are hung up on, to have me or Tom, whoever's writing things, put the word that we've hung up on and say, what other words could be substituted for this word? And you could say resilient, you could say redundant, you could say whatever you want.
Well, I was just going to say that part of the bylaws process was exactly that. I mean, part of it was live editing. Part of it was, okay, we need to say this here and do the editing later. So we did some of each. So it wasn't only live edits, but it was live feedback to what people were saying. And
Right.
that was, I think, as Jeff mentioned, that's a really important thing.
So so a couple of things. In community involvement processes, generally, the convener is usually expected to report out what people said.
Yeah.
Without editing, without formatting, just here were the key, editing like no foul language and, tightening it up. But here's what people said. And so that's my issue, is we have a step to do before we do anything to the values. What did people, a very concise summary, bullets, whatever, what did people say at this meeting and at that meeting? And again, I'm talking about a one-pager on each. And then when we have a few more meetings, and obviously we talk about what we do in those meetings, we can talk about editing the values, but again, we've heard from 10% of the people, obviously the motivated people, because they came, and that's terrific. But we should not take what they said as what NESCO views as its value set. They inform the value set, but they are not the value set. I was very careful not to say anything because I understood our role is to absorb what people say and configure a document that they support. But we're a long ways from knowing what that looks like.
Well, let me just say that we can't tell anything about the people who don't say anything.
Well, we have a long ways to go to hear from them, though. We've just started.
It is their responsibility. We have the venue. It's their responsibility to be a citizen and participate. They don't participate, then they get what they get.
Well, except that we should have said, if you want to have any role in the value statement, you need to attend these first two meetings. We did not say that.
Oh, I thought we did.
I think it's in the printed material we sent out. It
Yeah,
said
exactly.
this is where it's going to happen.
Okay, I'm gonna put my officer hat on again and insert myself. So Sarah did not say that we need to provide documentation of what people said in every meeting. Like definitely I want to be very wary of making work for ourselves that we are not expected to do. So, and so getting people like I don't think we can kind of like sort of say, if we don't get this level of participation, we can't move forward. Like that is a recipe for failure. Like we need to do the best job we can to like get the word out. But like I'm amazed that we got what we got. That was a huge success in my vote, or in my mind. And getting like 200 or 300 people would like, that's almost inconceivable. Like that would be amazing. And we would love to have that. But I think we need to have like a process that we move through and just try and draw more people in throughout that process the best we can, and have it in our minds that like as new people come into the process, they're going to give feedback about what came out of the earlier part of the process. So we can't lock anything down until we're almost at the end. Like it has to be a living document
So
throughout.
just
Yeah.
maybe, I think perhaps I'm not being clear, and I may just respectfully disagree and not support this process in this way. Here's the thing. If I don't know what list, and I haven't talked to Sarah about it because I was waiting for this meeting, how many people were notified of the meeting?
Everyone who's on our email list, which is 700
740 people,
So it included
households.
It included 740 households in the community boundary or in Nesco and Broad.
740 email addresses, some of which probably are like, there's definitely it's probably more common than not that the household has 2 emails on that address.
Okay,
It's the people who have been participating enough with the NCAC to put their name on our list who haven't unsubscribed.
right,
I can
okay,
explain how we got those numbers, that number. We sent it out to every property owner according to the county with a
Perfect.
postcard, enter a contest,
Perfect.
get a Michael Schlichting print, and all these people responded.
great. So given that, and given that we said in the thing that this is where we're going to tackle the values, I don't think we said we were going to edit the values after these 2 meetings. I thought what it said was we were going to tackle this part and then move on to other parts, but not that this is your only bite at the apple of values. But let's say it does say that, and I'm wrong, and I'm comfortable with that. If we sent it to 740 people and only 40 people participated, and to your point, Tom, if you're not participating, then you get what you get. And we're all seeing that right now across the spectrum of everything. So I concur with that, as long as we have that large group of people sent originally. So what I would say is, let's edit it, right? Let's call it a draft, but let's be prepared as we move into goals and action steps that we may have to go back and say, you know what, we never had a value saying
Sure.
X. It came up in the 3rd month and we add it back in. But I also think we need to be explicit that we have sent this to 740 people, that we have 2 more meetings coming up, that we are beginning to edit our draft, that we are putting in a lot of hard work. And folks, show up or the process will winnow because we have to produce a document. So does that address your issue that Jeff about, we're not going to get to the end and re-edit the whole thing. But I think we have to call out that in that way and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I
So-
think you and I are really like, I don't think what you said and what I said are all that different.
Right.
Or
No,
me.
okay,
Yeah.
no, I agree. I just
So-
wanted to know that we've given it to a lot of people. I don't think it has to be final. Let's start editing. I don't think we should word edit in a meeting ever because it's too darn hard and people lose their minds. But I
No,
think
I-
creating a fresh draft, and these aren't the bylaw people. This is a different group of people.
Yeah.
I think if we produce a draft and people want to give a few word suggestions, great. But I don't think we should do it all in live in the meeting with just me.
Oh,
What I
Okay.
wanted to do was say, this is what we heard. Is that right? Or you disagree? Are there new ideas? And we should capture those live. That's what I'm
right.
talking about.
And if
I'm
you've
for that.
got a disagreement around like adequacy versus resiliency, having those words on the page and like putting one in and taking one out and seeing how people respond is a good way to like to
Yeah.
suss out what people really think. It's not really editing the statement. It's just going through the
Playing with it.
exercise to get people to say stuff.
Right.
But you're stimulating them to have opinions that they didn't know they had until you put some words on the page that do you agree?
Yes.
So
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification.
And
I have a
go ahead,
question.
Lori.
So, with Lynn's comment about that we need to document what happened at the meetings, we have the video that anyone
Yes.
can watch. I did those notes. I didn't really think of them as being like posted on the internet for everyone to read, but I send everybody a copy of what I typed up from what I put on the whiteboard or the pads. It's fine with me if you want to post those. I did not consider them like the official record of the meeting. It was me trying to get as many words down that I was hearing as possible. But that could go either way. I'm fine either way with that.
I don't think it's, so it's obvious now, but here's my bias. I have a strong bias from 9 years of land use planning to trying to keep everyone at the table in the process. And I have found through that experience that things that require too much reading, and that was back in the 90s when people read more than they do now, but anything that requires watching a bunch of videos, reading a lot of stuff, they don't do it. And part of it is you can ascribe whatever reason to it you want. The homework part has gotten harder and harder of land use planning. And what it means is more and more people have found it easy to disengage from the process, and that sacrifices the whole value of the exercise. So in my mind, as long as we are notifying people, you can watch the video. We notified 760. I mean, having just kind of a drumbeat that we are communicating and you guys need to dive in and the train has left the station, get on board. That's the basis of all my remarks. And I don't think we can send them your words, Lori. I think when I went back and looked at my Zoom calls on the chart, we don't even need to send those out because they're there and you can read. I mean, I could read them. I don't know if people in the room could read them, but I could read them. So I wouldn't even do that. But what I'm advocating for is, in a marketing position, you tell them what you've got and then you say it again and then you push them over the finish. I mean, you've got to keep putting it in front of people. And we can put the burden on them. They can all watch the videos. I don't want to hear anyone say at the end of the process, I had no idea this was going on. I'll say to them, 760 emails. Do you read your emails? Did you watch the videos? Don't tell me, don't tell me you don't know what happened. It was all out in front of you.
you
I'm
and
going
I
to
are on the
advocate
same
that
page.
I'm going to advocate that we capture the notes formally, and the initial notes plus the update that you guys did on that, just by way of showing a
Process.
process and a progression. And I think that's valuable in itself in terms of validating
Mhm.
the output. So I'd be in favor of us documenting it and archiving it, even
Okay.
if nobody ever looks at it. It's there.
Well,
And the county may want to look at that. I know the county was quite picky about what they wanted in terms of the bylaws. I don't know if they're going to be as picky about the community plan or not. But
I think even if we just take pictures of those and put them in our archive, it's that's enough documentation.
and the first one where Lori and I were, I started and I gave it to Lori and then she gave it back to me and then I made some changes and then we honed it down a little bit. I think it's good for the two people who are working on a project to get that work done before we give it to you. And
Yeah.
Jeff, you said, no, this needs to go right to Tom. And I said, this is a pretty crummy document to send to Tom to have to sort out.
Yeah,
Just
well,
to clarify, I didn't mean it needed to go right to Tom, just that like I advocate for like letting Tom make the rules about how this works and like when you share what with whom and
Okay.
yeah. So
yeah, your output would be what would go into the archive. What you do in the middle, that's That's just the process. And that's not important to document. What is important is just stepwise, okay, we're done with this part. The rest of the committee needs to see it. At that point, we capture it.
Yeah, I was basically like, if you were sending an email that I got, Tom should see it. That's my rule of thumb. That if it's important enough that I should see it, the whole committee should see it.
Well, I'm still confused about what I can and shouldn't send. So I copied you in because I was sending it to Lori. And then I said, well, I'm not going to send the next one to Jeff. I'm just sending it to Lori so we can get it to a point where I'll send it.
Okay, see, there you go. Like there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah, but if you're like, I want to copy admin, or I want to include Jeff, like that's if you're thinking that in your mind, probably everyone in the committee needs to be in on that at that point. So
Okay, well, that's what I did today. I thought it was
Yeah.
enough honed so that it was grist for the mill here.
Yeah.
Well, I listened to what Lynn said, and I will try to make a statement to begin the meeting that is somewhat of a summary of what we've done, where we are, and what we're trying to do that day. And I'll include, that we sent this out to this many people, and we got the comments, and those are available. And from those comments, we've changed a few of the things, and today we'll be going over those things, and you can look at the words, the new words and the old words, and we'll just go through it with you. I mean, these statements are the statements that are on record for what the community plan is now. So they have been totally vetted 20 years ago. So they're not just out of the blue. So that's why I think that they shouldn't be too problematic in getting to some consensus. But I'll bring at least that summary to start the meeting with, based on your concerns, Lynn. Okay, so anything more about the 2nd and the 4th, May 2nd and 4th meetings? We got enough of a plan? I think we do. Okay, all right, thank you. So Lynn, it's to you on the timeline.
You're muted, Lynn.
You're muted, Lynn. I don't know. Still can't hear you.
I don't want to share my dog barking with you, so.
Oh, thank
That was
you.
my dog.
Oh, it's just like, okay. So, I think we are, we had talked in our calendar by the end of May, presenting values adopted to the community. So as I understand it, look, we're on track with that because of our discussion this morning. And we have those 2 meetings set up for May right now. So I think, unless anyone has any concern about that, I think my sense is we're on track. I have I was wondering if there were any other meetings we had scheduled, if we thought we needed any other meetings to meet that deadline at the end of May. Do we think we're going to have, I mean, to me, 4 meetings, 700 people, that many hours videotaped, we should have a lock on being done by the end of May. But I want to put that on the table because that's key to our timeline.
We have an initial presentation ready for May 26th. I think that's a goal that is doable.
Right. Okay. So we're good with that.
Lori?
Did we tell people that there was going to be on that one values, on the 1-page handout that we gave at the last meeting, didn't we say that there was going to be a meeting on the 16th and the 18th? Or is it my imagination? Yeah.
No, there's the 2nd and
So
the
there's
4th. and the
4
16th,
meetings
and there's
then.
4 meetings, yeah.
She said
Okay.
2.
Okay. I'm sorry. So that's great. I am not available for either of those meetings because of the Willamette Board of Trustees. So I'm
not either.
So there's that. The second thing that I had when I looked over our timeline, which I don't think we heard yet, is the from Sarah is the presentation on Senate Bill 406. And I wanted to be sure because I think that's going to be a barn burner and people are going to come, and we can use that actually to get people to come. But I have not seen any dates set for that by Sarah. I don't know that we are confirmed, and I'm gathering that we don't have the consultant anymore coming to work with us. I mean, that seems to have fallen by the way, but I also had that in the to-do list. I just didn't know if you all had any better sense of that from having been with Sarah.
I
So
don't have any better sense of it.
I got the impression that the consultant is coming at some point, but probably in a much more limited capacity than we were originally imagining.
It's waiting for Godot is what
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
So,
I think she did mention the consultant while we were hanging out before the first meeting. So
okay, so,
And she
but we,
also mentioned that she had a presentation on 406.
yes.
Right.
So I assume that that may actually substitute for some of the attention we thought we were going to get.
Is she, so I'm trying to say this appropriately. Sarah's expecting a baby, is that correct?
A baby?
Is Sarah expecting a baby? No, she's not.
No.
Okay, so,
not that I know of.
okay, so I couldn't see her clearly, but I thought, I wonder if Sarah's having a baby. So, okay, we don't need to worry about her
You
stepping out.
can't
but I-
do that.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
she's not married, so she can't.
Oh, come on.
All right, guy, come into the 21st century.
I was gonna say, but
He
we
has
need
a
that.
daughter already.
Okay, well, we need to get the date set
Yeah.
pretty soon for her 402 presentation, because we want to be able to get the word out on that. And Guy, are you the best person to talk to Sarah about? And please don't share with her that I thought she might be having, because
Yeah, that would be,
that was a bad angle or something that
That
I
wouldn't
just
go
wasn't
well.
clear. I apologize. And although I've been in that same circumstance myself, so I haven't put her through anything that I haven't been through. So what getting that 402 thing nailed down is really important, because that is going to bring
Yeah.
people out of the woodwork, is my guess.
well, we have a hearing coming up next week. So maybe at that will, because we always discuss those things as well at the planning commission, so I'll make sure
Okay.
I'll find out where that's at.
Okay. So the other thing, and we don't need to belabor this, I think other than that, it seemed to me that our broad outline or work plan is on track, and I count on all of us to, if we see things slipping. I think Sarah was really clear that, and I want to confirm this with you, Guy, that in March of 2025, it needs to be done, or is that when the county process with whatever we produce begins?
Yeah, I don't think there's a hard date
Okay,
in finishing it. I think she's got a calendar, which of course changes every week because of other things that are happening. And yeah, I just don't think that. And the other thing we gotta remember is we're gonna have 2 new county commissioners come January 1. And looking at just the candidates in general, we could have a very different county commission. And I don't know how that may impact what we bring. But I know it's just politics. It's part of why we never brought the coastal hazard adaptation plan for a couple of years to the county commissioners, because we knew it wouldn't pass, So anyways, that's just something to keep in mind, but I don't think there's a hard date on us finishing. So
okay.
I seem to remember that she said March 25 was when the 406 thing had to be done.
well, that may be 406,
Yeah,
but she can do that unilaterally from the county. I mean, I think they want each CAC to kind of weigh in and buy into 406. But it's a state law. I mean, it's just gonna be, once the county comes up with the language, we're pretty much gonna have to just adopt whatever language that is. I mean, and it's not like, that's only one piece, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't have to do a Measure 56 notice,
Huh?
which is another thing, advantage that they have there. So
And was I clear, and did I hear correctly that the allocation of that bill to a scaled allocation of that to Mascoin is 40 additional housing units?
I don't know.
I don't know
I
that, but it's
Never got a number.
essentially we won't know, because essentially what it will do is allow like duplexes in areas that, in R1 zones or something, or triplexes in an R1 zone, if they fit.
Right. it's
We don't
gotta
know how
fit
many
the
people
law.
will take advantage of that.
Right. Okay, thanks. So bottom line is, with those clarifications, we're on track with the work plan as it's outlined, and I'll just keep adding to that document as I pick up from these meetings,
Yeah.
various deadlines and if there are such things, we don't
Yeah.
know. There may
Is-
not be any.
Is that document something we should post on our, this is,
Website?
yeah,
I sent it as an email to you all. On what was the date here? The date?
April 16th.
Yep.
I have that, but I'm just wondering, and this, I'm not saying that we should, this is a question I'm putting out there. Is this something that would be appropriate to post on the website and then update as we know it? Or is it better
Sure.
to just give the information out a month in advance or whatever?
No, we could post it. Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna like transparency wise, always err on the side of posting, but I also like to err on the side of posting things that are sufficiently kind of mature that they're gonna make sense to someone who just stumbles onto them. So
Huh.
um,
Well, you could put on there, like, this is accurate as of April 29th. Please note that these dates, future dates may change at any moment.
sure, but there's two things, there's two possible goals you could have. There's one where you just want to like do all your public meeting stuff, and since you talked about it in this meeting, we just copy the email that Lynn did and put it into our archive, where if anyone is fishing through there, it's there. That's pretty easy for me or Tom to do. There is another level, which is more like what Lynn was, or sorry, Lori, too many L names, was talking about, where you have a somewhat polished schedule, which you publish and at least a little bit invite people to look at. And you probably don't, like, in my opinion, that may be more than you need to do, because there's probably not a big audience for that document, but we could do that if you change, if it became apparent that there was an audience for that.
I just take a picture of it and put it on there, and we can just use that. And as I update it, I'll do it. I'll send an update, and I don't think we're accountable for our work plan. I don't want other people using that as a hold us accountable tool, because they're not doing the work, so they don't get a vote.
Sure.
Sorry. So, okay. So there you go. Rand, did you want anything else on that?
No, I think that's great. To have the document there, and then we'll go, wait, are we achieving our
Yeah.
timeline? It's very helpful that way.
I will say that I was shocked to learn this weekend when I was in Nescoin, that the proposal rock 1-bedroom condominiums on the ground floor now list at $300,000. I about fell out into Hawk Creek, actually. I just could not even believe that. I was there when they were built. I remember, I mean, holy smokes. So I think this discussion that we're going to have on 402 is going to be very interesting, because that's kind of unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Okay, so Tom, what's the latest?
Latest is there's a lot of progress made with the bylaws.
Okay, well,
A
that's
little,
good.
a little bit done on massaging the document, but we had a lot of changes, well, a lot of hoops to jump through to put together the package. So I've not had much time to work on it, but I shall do better going forward. I
Is
think
there
we're done
light
with
at the
that.
end of the tunnel?
I believe we may actually be pretty close to being out of the tunnel.
Oh, great, great.
We've submitted that package to the county, and unless they throw up about it, we just have to get it past the membership.
Yeah, well, that should be pretty embraced by this point. Okay.
You never know. You don't
I
know
know
that
you don't. I
holding back
know.
to the last minute and
Okay,
know-
Mr. Doc Sievert, what do we find out from Sarah?
Well, I guess a couple things. We have not found out anything on her or her office's response to the recommendations. That has yet to happen. It's been continually delayed, our getting together on that. We did, as you know, Lynn and I went through and did kind of a rough draft of what the NESCO and R1 and R3 zones may look like. It's almost kind of a test draft. And so, you know, Sarah had a reaction to that. And I think Lynn, didn't she say she sent it to the county council for their comment? The biggest issue in my mind, in terms of some of the things that we would like to remove, mostly remove. There's very little, I think, of adding into in terms of both outright and conditional uses in the various zones, is that they would all require a Measure 56 notice. And you know, I think it's gonna, and the county, as somebody said, has no money. And I think they want to avoid, not only avoid a Measure 56 notice because they just don't even want to pay for a mailing. But they want to avoid any, they just don't have the funds
Ah,
for legal challenges.
yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. They've spent all their money on this STR legal challenges, and they're still spending money on that. And so I think there's a feeling in the county that they want to avoid any more challenges. Now, you could say that removing a cemetery as a use in our smallest residential area is something that not a lot of people would object to, but you never know. And who knows of the bodies we may dig up trying to prove one way or the other in somebody's backyard. But so I don't know. We're waiting on word from the county council. I think as I read the statutes and what's required in each zone, there's nothing that, other than this middle housing thing, that's required, that, you know, in terms of outright use. I mean, obviously in a residential zone, you got to allow individual residences, but you know, golf courses, things like that, you know, that's up for debate. So we'll see. We're waiting on that, and clearly waiting on Sarah having to take a look at our 2001 recommendations. Hasn't happened.
Jeez. This is
So,
bizarre.
I mean, so the thing is that the thing that's so interesting to me, Guy, is that we have to get to a point at some point, and maybe the new county commissioners will do this, or maybe, you know, maybe the current county commissioners can do this. There has to be a connection between what they can do and what they can't do, and what they ask other people to do and they can't do. I mean, that's the tent. As a native Oregonian, I've never seen anything. The rural counties right now are just, they can't move forward.
No.
And they've got a whole bunch of laws they have to comply with, and more every year or every session. And they can't do the things that their core responsibilities can't even be funded. So
Right, the mandates.
yeah, and so it's just and it's not just Tillamook County, it's the other rural counties too. So I mean, we will all, it's why I'm so impressed you're willing to serve on the planning commission, because it makes it really, really hard to do that work.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be mindful of that, because I
Look,
think
it's the county's risk adverse right now. No
Yes.
question. And that's why any measure 56, I mean, I think they're still dealing with there's still an appeal of a decision we made based on the coastal hazard overlay zone. And I think that's actually in the Court of Appeals. So that's been years. I mean, it's, that was approved in 2014. And it's been 2 years in appeal right now. And the STR appeal. So yeah, I think they're just risk averse at this point. And I understand where Sarah's coming from.
Mhm.
I think she agrees with us in general that the use that is the edits that we went through and made and mostly in the uses of these zones, residential zones, makes sense, but will they ever take the risk of doing it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
All righty. Well, someday we will get a report.
Someday.
All right. All right. Well, thank you. We'll gear up for Thursday, and Sarah did say she couldn't be here today, but she does plan to be there at the meetings coming up. So that's always helpful to have her be in the meetings and address some of the things, but I'm really hoping that we can get beyond potholes and, I don't get what I want from my tax money, and get into some substance here and do some work on Thursday and Saturday. So thank you for being here today for
Well,
this.
are our meetings this week on Thursday?
Yeah,
Thursday night and Saturday morning.
yeah. The only reason I couldn't do Wednesday, well, I didn't want to do Wednesdays every week, Guy, for some reason.
Yeah, I know that, but I got
And so the first one on Thursday was Aaron Scar's event, and so we'd lose
Yeah.
Jeff and Tom
Yeah.
and myself, and we
Yeah.
wouldn't have so the rest of them are on Thursday and Saturdays.
I mean, I can, for whatever reason, the dates this week, the beginning of the month that starts somehow like
Messed you up, huh?
I have so messed up on days. I can't tell you how many meetings now I've kind of screwed up already this week, but okay.
Well, sorry about that, but they should all be on Thursdays from now on, that are the weekdays, and then the weekends will be Saturdays. So,
And
okay,
I want you all to know that since I'm another year older, I'm a year wiser. So
oh,
you all deserve to be listening to me more closely.
It's totally showing.
I thought so.
Wait, was this a big birthday, Guy?
Well, it's almost the big, well, actually, I have entered my 80th year. Let's put it that way.
No, you
yeah.
haven't.
Yes. And so, but Cameron, Cameron is also in my boat today. So Cameron Nagel. So we are both wiser.
Whoa. Well, you're looking
You're
good.
gonna watch
Guy.
it.
I
There's
would
a power
I'm-
move going.
It's
Yeah.
today. Well,
Well,
happy birthday.
wise,
Guy.
wise guys, I would agree with. Wisdom, that's another story.
Well, you saw the bad jokes going around this morning, so.
Yes, I did. That's why I say what I say.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you all for being here.
Hold up.
Public comments.
Well,
Oh.
not public comment, but agenda for next time, which probably
Oh.
looks very much like this one.
Yep.
But because we have to post those, and I've been doing it, I want to make sure that we actually all agree on what is up for next time. And
Yes.
and,
We will, well, Lynn
then-
can determine if she wants to update the timeline in 2 weeks. We'll leave her on there, so if she does come up with something, and then I would just say just shift the dates to debrief May 2nd and 4th, and everything else, we'll just keep crossing our fingers for Guy and Sarah to have
okay, and
some
I just
progress.
want to so our 2 weeks from today is the 13th, and then the week following is your meetings, right? So it is exactly the same that we're gonna so it does look like I can just copy and paste this agenda and it'll all be the same stuff. Like we're
Yep.
we're
Yeah,
all
just
comfortable
move
with
a
that.
couple dates and we're good.
Okay. And what did we decide about Memorial Day?
That we're doing it in the other meeting. And
No, for your meeting, for this meeting.
Oh, for the actual Memorial Day, which would
Yeah.
be Monday.
Oh, Monday.
So I will be on the road that day to get back to Portland to get on another thing I have to do, but I certainly could be on the phone if you think you want to meet.
Well,
I
and
would prefer
you can
not.
always change the date. We just have to notice it. So
Yeah.
We'll have met the day before with the public and given them a briefing and a poll that we have to design.
you're probably going to have meetings in June that you need to plan, like an input sessions in June.
Yeah.
Well, aren't we supposed to be in June, kind of moving to the next phase? We're
Yep.
coming,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
I guess we might just start reviewing the ordinances, whether they've been approved or not, to be in the form that they're there. Just
Well, I mean, this is diverging a little bit, but even if the county has no money and cannot actually do anything we ask, that does not mean we shouldn't ask. So we
Right.
shouldn't think too much about that while we're going through this process. So
no, and that's exactly where I'm at, by the way, as well. I don't think that should be, and that's where Sarah and I kind of disagree a little bit on this. But I think if we agree as a community that we want changes made to the land uses that we have and the ordinances, I mean, after all, the county gave us the ability to make recommendations on changes. So if we're take advantage of it, if the county wants to say, no, we don't want to do this, that's their prerogative, but I think we should make it clear what we want.
I agree.
wasn't the only criteria whether it did not work with the comprehensive plan, or is that?
Well, the
No.
comp plan is so broad, Rand, it fits anything. I think the big issue was there anything in state statute? And that's what Lynn and I were a little concerned about earlier. Was there anything that was required? In other words, let's go back to our cemeteries. Was it required to have to list cemeteries as a conditional use in an R1 zone? You know, where we couldn't find any of that. So there was an
Okay.
issue about foster homes, whether or not that was required. I think there's a couple little things, but in general, no, I think it's
So yeah, reeling back to the agenda for next time, I'm gonna add June to that, like planning for June. But I
Yeah,
think you should assume that you will need more than you'll start the process, give homework out, and then meet again near Memorial Day to actually figure out like the details of what you're gonna do in June. Like you may have to pick dates in the next meeting so that we can notice them, and then but. So either decide that you're going to meet on Memorial Day, which I think I'm not doing anything, so I could probably attend and support that day, or pick another day.
and if we do meet on Memorial Day, I will certainly, whether it's morning or afternoon, I will be there in some form.
Okay, and you, Guy and Lynn, think about when you want to have your first meeting in June to discuss the ordinances and introduce
Yeah.
that subject so that
Yeah.
people.
And
You know,
Guy,
there may be a restriction on, we better check with Sarah on this.
Yeah.
We may not be able to meet on Memorial Day. To have a public meeting on a public holiday might be,
But that's just a steering committee meeting. Is that?
yeah, but we're a public
That-
meeting.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Huh.
yep. Yep, I think good catch, Guy. And the other thing is, you know, depending on what county council says, is Sarah made multiple mention in the first two meetings about, well, if you guys mention this in your community plan, then it helps me in doing X. And that was the grant thing and the this thing and the that thing.
Right.
One of the things that may be helpful for us to do in June, if the county council says, you know, no, don't, please, you know, you can just don't go down that path, is for us to say, part of what we think we need to do as a community is get the things done we've been trying to get done for 20 years, and to even have a conversation with the county, what is feasible in their view of the future. Because for us to spin our wheels and lay out a bunch of dreams and fond aspirations, and many people's experience with the county right now is that they can't do anything because they don't have the capacity. And I know Sarah's got some extra people. There are more people now. They're trying to break some of these log jams. But if we say, you know, state, you ask us to do a community planning process, and we did it, and here it is. But the bottom line here is we're in a world where new things are done at the expense of the things that are on the wait list already. I mean, I don't know that is completely accurate with Nescoin's goals and aspirations, but I got to believe it is in part. So we'll figure that out, but we can also bring things to the table that are not going to happen that because there is no bandwidth.
I think that we have to think that, I mean, it's been 4 years since the last process. And a lot can change. I mean, if it's the same way the next time, if it's another 20 years, a lot of things can change in 20 years, but our vision should not. You know, our vision, it's kind of like the land uses and other kinds of things. We're probably setting a document to look forward for 20 years, given past history and given the counties, whatever. So things change, finances change, funding changes, county commissioners change. But what shouldn't change, at least in this process, is what we believe our future is. So
Right.
So you might want to look at whether that's the 6th or the 8th of June, or if you want it to be the second week or something, but we're going to need to put a date down for the first meeting on these issues pretty soon. So that's what we're fishing for here.
we want to stick with that Thursday evening kind of thing, the Thursday, Saturday,
I-
which
I
you
would
guys
like-
already established.
I would respectfully request that I do daycare for my grandchildren on Thursdays, and I'm booked from 6 to 6, and then I'm in a pile on the floor of exhaustion. So if there's any way we could move for the ones Guy and I are doing to a Wednesday, Saturday thing or a Friday, Saturday thing, that would really help me out.
What about Tuesday, Saturday?
How about what?
Tuesday, Saturday.
Tuesday, Saturdays would work better for me.
Tuesday, Saturday works.
Okay.
Okay,
Tuesdays are
Tuesday
not
the
good for
4th.
me, but
Yeah,
Excuse
part of
me?
You said Tuesdays are not good for you?
pardon, Tuesday evenings, I have a standing meeting every
Mhm.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Well, the other
That's
thing
about
is
my only hard time.
we could do, we also could try doing it on Saturday and do a morning and an afternoon.
Well, when we
That
did
would
the
be-
polling at the community meetings, I think actually more people said weeknight than weekend.
What about Mondays?
Monday's fine.
Fine with me.
Monday's fine.
Yeah, works for me.
Mondays.
Well, that's our other meeting, so that means if you're doing it every other week and then you're doing the week in between, you're doing every Monday you have a meeting. So that's a little rough to,
Nah, these aren't rough meetings, Fran.
okay, all right.
And you,
What do
you
you think
could
is
schedule
better?
them, you could schedule them the same day, which is rough in a different way, but
Yeah, it is rough and a different, but we could do them on the same day because one's an evening and one's a 2 to 5 or
Right.
whatever.
We could do every other, rotate it every other.
What are the, what
and,
is,
and I want to go on record, like, I think if you're gonna do every other Monday for an input session, you are gonna run out of like bandwidth from the community really fast. So I think you need to be more thoughtful about like,
Every other.
yeah, like how like when are you gonna ask for their attention and what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah,
Do you think
Right.
one Monday and one Saturday in June is enough?
and then maybe in July we do something.
So what I would say is that schedule fewer meetings, but plan them more so that you really know what you're trying to get out of the what questions you're looking to answer in that meeting, so that you have a really structured meeting where you're trying to get something specific from the people who attend in terms of like feedback and advancing your understanding of the community's feelings.
Right.
They do it so that the Saturday meeting is, for instance, on the 2nd and the Monday meeting is on the 17th. So that there's not 2 meetings right together, but there's 2 meetings in January.
Yeah,
June.
I mean, in June, sorry.
so can we, Rand, can we put dates on the table in this meeting so this works out? Because right now we don't have we have to find out about the Memorial Day weekend, but let's get our June meetings calendared of this group. And then we can also get, hopefully, I think on June 8th, we could do a community meeting on ordinances if we're that far along. But can we just do the dates for June now? Because it seems important to do that.
Well, that's up to you guys, because you're the presenters. I'm willing to help and be the introducer or whatever, but
but for this meeting, when do we want to, in June? What would be the 2 meeting dates?
well, as Lori suggested, maybe you want to do a Saturday.
This
the
committee, this committee.
This
Rand.
committee?
Yeah,
Well, that's why, well, we have our meetings on every other Monday.
Right. And the next one, or the second one from now, is a Memorial Day, which is both a holiday, or it's a holiday and maybe you're not allowed to have a meeting that day and
Right, so
also
maybe-
you may be busy. So
We might have to bump to either Tuesday, which is that's not a conflict, right?
So let me
Good,
make a
next day.
proposal, Rand. Let me see if this helps. Given that the Memorial Day thing is problematic, just because we don't know and we need to get the schedule, could we make this group's meeting be on June 3rd and June 17th at 2 p.m.? And then we can add the other meetings as we get more sense of content when we hear from county council. But if we just acknowledge we're not going to have a meeting on Memorial Day and go for the 3rd, which is very close following that, and the 17th, that way we're all set and we just have 2 more to go.
you're
Okay.
just gonna skip a week. You're gonna, which,
Yeah,
don't
we're
think
going to
so.
skip Memorial Day, but we will all have been together the previous day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Guy, you and I'll stay in touch and strategize.
yeah, we've got to get a lot more, Lynn, maybe
You and I should talk.
You and I and Sarah really do need to sit down,
Yep,
because it's not just uses in those zones.
I
It's
know.
all the other standards of
Yep.
building and other things, you know, how wide is your driveway can be, and what's actually really up for discussion or even potential of changing here. So
Right.
those things, we really do need to get clear with her, and then as well as the recommendations out of 2001 and those things. So anyways, yeah, no, I'm gonna work with Sarah. I'll just tell her, Lynn,
and I can join on a conference call. I'll be there over
Right.
Memorial Day weekend too, but yes, let's do that because
I'll
one
try
of
to
the
get her
things-
as soon as we can.
Yep,
So-
we don't want to write things or change things that don't happen for 8 years, right? That's just like ridiculous.
Or submit things that we have no control over. Well, we don't have any control over any of this, by the way. I mean, the county commissioners have ultimate control.
Yes.
But if it's something that says, no, you can't, you know, the distance between structures can't be this or that or whatever, you know, you can't
Right.
change that. Well, okay, take that off the board.
Right. Okay,
Alrighty. I'll set that up, Lynn.
Okay, so we got meetings on the 3rd and the 17th for the committee, and then we're gonna find a date for you guys to do your first presentation.
Yep.
And then we'll post that minimum of 10 days before.
yep,
Okay, so
Sounds
you,
good.
so, I'm putting it on the agenda for next time that you will discuss what the June dates for input sessions are.
yes, sir.
Okay,
All right. Thank you. All right, thanks again, and hope to see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Is it still at the clubhouse?
When
Is it
are
the
we
clubhouse
Still
meeting?
at the clubhouse.
Okay,
and,
alrighty,
and you're gonna need a new venue at some point, right? Like in June, basically, right?
yeah.
Michael said his gallery would be open to doing it.
Oh,
Oh, that'd be
that's
cool.
lovely.
That'd be great, that'd be great. Okay, all right, see you
What
all.
time are we meeting on Thursday? What time are we meeting at the clubhouse?
7. Oh, what time are you meeting?
Well, to get ready for it.
Yeah,
Well, do you think we need more than a half hour?
No.
No,
Half hour.
probably not even 15 minutes, like now that we know how to plug everything in. And I may attend remotely, like I haven't decided yet, but
Okay.
Yeah.
6:30. I'm gonna say 6:30 because that means people show up at
Okay.
6:40 or quarter.
6:30.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you all.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Hi, thank
Meeting
you.
adjourned.
bye.